So trip one started with a 5:30 a.m. Uber drive to the Tampa airport. I had an excellent Uber driver who suggested entering through the arrivals as opposed to the departures, since with new construction, the departures area is quite crowded. Fortunately, arrivals was empty, so I was able to head straight to Terminal A in order to catch my flight to Newark. To be honest, Terminal A is my least favorite of the terminals in the Tampa airport. Just doesn't have a lot going on. There's no lounge access or really any great restaurants to try other than Ducky's, which I have a love-hate relationship with. The terminal does have two coffee shops, including Starbucks and the Bay Coffee and Tea Company. I elected to go with the Bay Coffee and Tea Company as the line for Starbucks was hella crowded. As I stood in line, I contemplated my life choices, particularly why I'm at an airport at 6 in the morning. After deciding that it was a little too early to start drinking, I made my way back to my terminal to wait for my flight. My mood definitely cheered up as I drank my coffee and ate my chocolate muffin, and before I knew it, it was time to board. My first flight was on a 20-year-old Airbus A320, quaintly named Blue T Full. One thing that I think is kind of cool about JetBlue is that all of the planes have these kind of playful names that play on the blue theme. So it's a nice little touch to see what your airplane is named. Gives it a little more character. This first flight was super uneventful. I relaxed with a little bit of sparkling water and checked out the in-flight entertainment system, which I have to say is pretty robust. After 2 hours, we landed in Newark, and I had an hour to kill checking out the terminal. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed with Terminal A at Newark. It has a really nice layout, and it was recently renovated, and you can tell that they put a lot of attention to detail. Generally speaking, the aesthetics are really nice. They have a ton of kid-specific play areas, which is amazing if you're traveling with kids and need something to do during a layover. They had a pretty decent selection of coffee shops, restaurants, and quick service. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to utilize any of the airport lounges, and even though I tried to use my priority pass in the massage area, they had a wait list that would have been way too long given that it's a tight connection with the flight. I decided once again that it was too early for a drink, so I got a cup of coffee and hung out in the airport in a surprisingly comfy chair. One thing I have to say that I find mildly concerning about the Newark airport is how many times that they've cautioned that you shouldn't bring guns through the security. How often does that have to be said? After relaxing for a few minutes, I made my way back to my gate in order to board the plane. Heading on flight number 2 to Palm Beach. On this flight, we were once again on another A320, this time a 19-year-old. This particular plane has the distinction of being called Bear Force One and is named after the Boston Bruins and has their livery. I took a little bit of time to check out the in-flight system. Unfortunately, despite being a newer plane, the in-flight entertainment definitely was much older than the previous flight. It also had a smaller selection of media options, which I thought was a little bit disappointing. But that being said, they still had a fairly decent selection, so I was able to find something to enjoy. On this flight, things got a little bit hairy because they turned around the tarmac, so our flight had somewhat of a delay, which made me a bit nervous about our connecting flight in Palm Beach. However, despite the late takeoff, we still had a fairly smooth flight, and our flight attendants did a really great job of keeping us well fed and hydrated on board. I arrived in Palm Beach with a little under an hour between flights. My original plan was to get some lunch at the Amex Partner Lounge. The flight was delayed. I really want to see if I can get into this lounge, but I don't know if it'll be through security. The mystery. I'm devastated. Lounge is through the security. So, too tight this time, but next time we're in Palm Beach, if we're ever in Palm Beach again, check it out. I'll be honest, the food options in the Terminal C of Palm Beach were pretty lackluster, and I wound up getting probably one of the saddest sandwiches of my entire life. As I ate my really crappy caprese salad, I thought about my life choices once again. Things actually really started to turn around when we once again boarded our plane. Funny enough, I actually booked a flight on the same airplane that brought us down, so we once again boarded Bear Force One in order to make our way to DC. I had the same flight crew, which again was incredibly responsive and attentive and very polite. They recognized me from the last flight, and we talked about the JetBlue 25 for 25 challenge. For both Alyssa and I think one thing that's remained pretty constant over the JetBlue flights is that the service is excellent and the staff are incredibly friendly. One other piece of good luck on this flight was that it was very underbooked, so the staff actually spread us out throughout the cabin, which made it a much more comfortable flying experience. I opted to watch an oldie but a goodie Jurassic Park as we made our way up to DC. Finally made it to DC. I'm really lucky to have a friend who lives in DC, so he was able to pick me up and we went out for a bite to eat. We opted to go to Aidas on the river in downtown Alexandria. I enjoyed a truly awesome cowboy ribeye with béarnaise along with a spicy margarita. We ended the night with a walk around downtown Alexandria, completing day one with 3 airports, 7.5 hours of flying time, and 3 states. Day 2 started with an early morning drive back to the DCA airport, with excellent views of the Washington Monument. Security at the Reagan Airport was incredibly efficient, and I was able to make my way quickly to the Centurion Lounge. The lounge is located right after security and is actually a little bit hard to find. The signage is incredibly subtle. After check-in, I made my way to the buffet, which I have to say was incredibly well appointed with a number of different breakfast items and with some specialty items from DC area. One of the cool things about the Centurion Lounges is that they actually incorporate a significant amount of regional variation. So DC, being the gateway to the south, had a number of dishes, including an amazing cheddar grit casserole that I wound up having second helpings of. As always, there's an excellent selection of caffeinated beverages, and I opted to try the Nitro Cold Brew. After finishing breakfast, I decided to take a quick shower, just for the heck of it. Checked in with the front desk to one of the private bathrooms. Guests are allotted up to 30 minutes per shower session, which is more than enough time to take a quick shower. The facilities were very well appointed, and there was a really nice complement of shampoos and lotions available. After the shower, I got an espresso and began to explore the lounge. This particular Centurion Lounge has around 12,000 square feet of available space. The lounge is beautifully appointed with several nods to the golden age of travel. In addition to several common areas, there's also a few private areas, including a multi-purpose room. What I think is really neat about this is that it's specifically designed for families traveling with kids, although anyone's able to use the room. And for all of you with a certain level of morbid curiosity, yes, the books are fake. The only negative comment I would make about the Centurion Lounge is that it does leave a lot to be desired in terms of views. However, it does make up for it with some very nice local artwork. After exploring the lounge, I decided to check out the bar. The Centurion Lounges are known for having excellent quality of alcohol, in addition to some really fun specialty cocktails that change airport to airport. Additionally, they have a very good selection of wines and beers. I tried their Jungle Boogie, which was a rum and Aperol drink with tropical flavors. And then purely for research purposes, I decided to try the Platinum Mule, which is a riff on a ginger whiskey. What it lacked in aesthetics, it made up for in taste. I sadly had to leave the lounge and make my way to the terminal in order to board my next flight. Flight to Boston. This flight was on board an 18-year-old E190 named Lady in Blue. And all I could say is thank goodness this lady is set to retire at the end of this week. My media screen was broken beyond repair. Plane showed significant wear and tear. But as always, the flight crew was incredibly pleasant. We landed in Boston, and I headed straight for the Sapphire Lounge. The Sapphire Lounge is officially in Terminal B, but it really is in the BC connected corridor. Signage to the lounge was very well done, and the check-in process was very smooth. The lounge offers 12,000 square feet to relax and has spectacular views overlooking the tarmac as well as the Boston Harbor. The lounge's food selection is also diverse, with something for everyone. In addition to the buffet options, they also have a ordering system for freshly prepared items, including their signature house burger. They also offer an excellent complement of caffeinated beverages, as well as some specialty waters. I elected to go for the buffet, however, I did choose to order a specialty cocktail from their app. The Chase Lounge app allows you to order directly to your table from their extensive menu. I went with a mezcal margarita, which was excellent, and the black salt rim added a special touch. After lunch, I decided to explore the lounge, which features a significant amount of luxurious resting space, as well as specialty rooms, including family areas. If you're looking to relax with a drink, it actually has two specialty bars, one for cocktails and one for beers. If you're looking for a more refreshing experience, the lounge also offers several amenities, including massage chair rooms and bathrooms, which are luxuriously appointed. Guests are able to access these services through the app, where a time slot reservation can be made. After pushing my lounge access to the very limit, I made my way towards my gate for the final flight of this trip. I will say this, Boston is reported to be a very large and difficult to navigate airport, but I found I had plenty of time to get to my gate from the lounge, even though it was a whole concourse away. On this final leg of the trip, we flew on an A220. I actually had to search around for the name of this plane, but it turned out to be All Blue Can Eat. You can really tell that this was a brand new plane, and compared to the last flight, it was spectacular. Seating was incredibly spacious and comfortable. The onboard electronics worked perfectly, and the screen had great quality. Once again, I was spoiled for choice in terms of media and chose to enjoy Beetlejuice during this last flight. After almost 3 hours of flying, we made our way back into Tampa, which brought me to 5 airports completed for the 25 for 25 challenge. So, completed first journey, accomplished 5 airports, 12 hours in the air, 5 separate states. Not bad for a weekend. I'll see you all next time on our great adventure. Make sure to like and subscribe.